Welcome to Rom Wills Money Matters. Manage your business finances. Manage your business finances. Now remember, the original title of this channel, indeed, is still the technical title of this channel is Rom Wills About That Business. But then remember what I said. I wanted to help other people out as far as managing their money, managing their household finances and everything. But if you have to manage your household finances, you definitely have to manage your business finances. You know, you cannot spend the money you make on your business willy-nilly. First of all, whether it's a product, service, you have to get different things for it. You have to have a brick and mortar where you have to pay the rent, the electricity, whatever. You have to manage your business finances. Like you can't, like just say you getting, I don't know, $300 a day. And that can be low. Actually high for some people, but I'm just throwing out the number, right? You got to put that, you got to think about, okay, I got to pay the rent. Or I might have to pay for something. I might have to buy these products. You know, out of that, you might be good if you get $20 cash. And I'm dead serious. But you have to manage it. Because that's how some businesses get in trouble. Because you have to first, when you have business finances, the first thing you have to think about is putting that money back into the business. If you selling products, you gotta buy more products. You know, you gotta hit up someplace. Now, if you have a brick and mortar, you definitely have to pay the rent, or you ain't gonna have that space anymore. And there's some businesses that's done that. They made a mistake. They weren't putting it back into just the rent. You gotta have electricity and everything, power. You might have to have phone lines. It depends on what it is. You know, if you have an employee firm, you gotta pay them. You gotta pay them. You gotta pay those people, right? And then, you know, you in business for yourself. You gotta make sure you have it. Like I remember this bookstore chain that used to be in the DC area. I'm not gonna call it. Somebody in the DC area might know who I'm talking about. But I remember I knew the two owners. Well, at least two of the public owners. I think they had four owners. But they were like, all the money they would make, they will only get like 8% of it back just to go into their coffers. Their coffers, right? I was like, oh, okay. I learned something from them, right? Like if you got a business, you got to think, okay, what you putting back into the business? And that's not even if you just have a product. Even if you have a service, you might, depending on the service, you might have to pay for some stuff. Like you have, always use a rug cleaning example, right? All right, you probably have to, you got to maintain the machines. You probably have to buy like some product to clean, like some soaps and stuff like that. Maybe some brushes. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know. Or if you have a massage place, you probably have to buy some stuff. You got to wash some sheets, all of that stuff. It depends on what it is, right? But you have to manage that. Because one of the most difficult things you can do, one of the most dangerous things you can do, I'm going to say dangerous, is you don't manage it. Because what if you like spend that money on yourself, but then you got some products that you need to get. You run out of a certain product. You got to manage that. You know? You have to manage that. You got to keep it tight. And I ain't even talk about taxes. I ain't even talk about taxes because you know the tax man will come get you. Because one thing about any business, and I probably need to do a separate video on just business taxes, they want their money. Like you have any like any small jurisdiction, they pay their people, like the government stuff, government employees and everything, police officers, firemen. Yeah, they get property taxes from people, but their main money is made from the businesses in that jurisdiction. And so that means you got to manage paying taxes. you got to look at it. It has to be tight. You got all this money to put out. Now, it's not as bad if you're a solopreneur, but even then, you still got to put it away. Like myself, doing all this, I still had to put away money for taxes. Every month, I have to put away money for taxes. Every single month. So I have to manage that. So even if you're a solopreneur. Now, if you have an employee firm, like I said, you got to pay these people. And depending on the size of the firm, you might have to pay for health insurance and stuff like that, depending on the size. Usually if it's small, you can get away with not doing it. But if it gets to a certain size, like the last number, I hadn't had to think about it because, well, I'm a solopreneur. But the last number I saw was like if you had 12 employees. And that might be according to the state or whatever. But that's something else to pay for. You have to manage all of that because I'm going to tell you what, especially if you with brick and mortars, or any businesses like that, your profit is tight. Your profit is tight. Razor thin. Just a little bit can put you off. Like when I had my book stand years ago, in order for me to make money, I had to go pay for books. And like my profit margin was small. It was small because I had to pay for books, I had to pay for the stand, all of that stuff. So that was tight. So I had to manage the money tight. You got to manage it tight, And if you are not able to do it, you might have to pay for an accountant. If you smaller, you might be able to get away with it, but as you grow, you might have to pay for an accountant. In fact, I know a gentleman, he actually does that. That's like his side business, like taking care of payrolls and money for smaller businesses. Yeah, I don't know if he still does that. I have to ask him. We usually be talking about other stuff, Anyway, right? You got to manage your business finances tight. Especially for a business, because if you managing your personal finances in your house, you still got to do everything, but you can get away with a lot more. That's why, unfortunately, that's why people live in paycheck to paycheck. You might not be able to do that as much having your own business. Because like I said, if you have an employee firm, you got to make sure they pay. Depending on how many people you have to pay insurance too. You have to pay, if you have a brick and mortar, you have to pay the rent there. Whether, it's on the street, in a plaza, in a mall, you got to pay the rent there, probably pay for electricity and all of that, right? You got to pay salaries. There's so much you got to do. It has to be tight, even if you had to hire somebody. And even if you have to hire somebody, you still have to pay them too. But you have to manage your business finances. You have to manage them well. Because you go off in any way, just a little bit, you could be messed up. All right? So I want y'all to keep that in mind. All right? It might sound basic, but let's just be real out here. That could be, in my last episode, I was talking about business mistakes. That could be a mistake, not taking care of your business finances, all right? So, anyway, I want y'all to think about that. So, anyway, that's all I have for now. Y'all know the deal. Let's go make that money.